I love that curling is a team sport, that we're able to travel the world with friends and family and experience the journey with fans as well. The sport demands so much, whether it's fine motor skills or both physically and mentally taxing. And it's just a fun social sport that you're able to kind of make an extended family all over the world.
Everest is here to support you in the moments that matter. Learn how at everestfuneral.ca.
Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club, as it is seeding pool action at the 2023 Everest Senior Curling Championships here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. My name is Al Cameron. My pleasure to bring you tonight's game between a pair of teams that many thought would be contenders here at the Everest Seniors, but it has not been their week, but still plenty of pride on the line anytime teams from Alberta and Ontario go head-to-head at a national championship. We'll run down the lineups for these two teams. It'll be Alberta versus Ontario. Team Alberta from the Sherwood Park Curling Club, it is skip James Paul. The third is Mark Klink. The second is Kelly Mothy. The lead, John Schmidt. And the alternate, Corey Wilson. And Alberta comes into this game with a 2-5 record. Suffice it to say, it did not go their way in the preliminary pool play. This is a team that finished second at the Everest Seniors last year, and they came with high expectations, but just a series of bad breaks, the occasional miss, and that is curling in a nutshell. If it doesn't go your way, it doesn't go your way, and it has not gone Team Alberta's way. They come in, as mentioned, with that 2-5 record, but they did start the seeding pool earlier today with a 9-2 win over Team Yukon, so they're going to look to finish this week strong here at the Vernon Curling Club. They are taking on Team Ontario, another team that arrived with high expectations. Brian Cochran's team from the Russell Curling Club. Brian, a two-time Canadian senior champion, former world senior champion, and a team that has an abundance of podium finishes at this event, but a 3-3 record in the preliminary round did not get them into the championship pool. Skip Brian Cochran. The third is Ian McCauley. Second, Graham Sinclair. The lead is Ken Sullivan. The alternate, John Rothwell. And mentioned that 4-3 record. They increased to 4-3 earlier today with a victory that was an 11-2 over Nunavut. So they're looking, again, pride on the line. No doubt who's going to buy after the game will be on the line. And obviously the seeding pool does play a role in determining the final standings of the Everest Seniors. It also plays a role in determining points towards the MA Cup, which is, of course, the season-long competition between all of the member associations of Curling Canada based on their results at the national championships. So we are underway here in the first end. It is Ontario with Last Rock, and already you see that Ontario team sitting a couple. Ice here at the Vernon Curling Club has been stellar, suffice it to say. Dave Merklinger is the manager here at the club, and of course does a lot of the ice work here, but this week he is busy as the vice chair of the host committee for the Everest Seniors. He and Mark Longworth doing just a lot of work behind the scenes to make this event a success. So he's turned over the chief ice technician duties to his son, Mike. And Mike has put together an ice surface that will curl both ways, both into the center, out to the wings, and is fast. Over 15 seconds hog to hog is typically what they're looking at to get to the tee line, and that is fast ice, and it's been fun ice. It's good sweeping ice. Lots of shots can be made. We'll see what these two teams have in store for us. These are the silver medalists at the last two Canadian Senior Championships. Team Alberta finished second last year to another Ontario team that was skipped by Howard Rajala. Of course, that Rajala team did go on to win the gold medal at the World Seniors in Gangneung, South Korea. Team Brian Cochrane, three of these four members won silver in 2021 as well as 2019. Gold medals in 2016 and 2018. And then they went on to the World Seniors. Of course, you go to the World Seniors the year after you win. So at the 2017 World Seniors in Lethbridge, Alberta, this Cochrane team did win a silver medal. They lost in that final to Sweden. And then in 2019 at Stavanger, Norway, Team Cochrane got that long-awaited gold medal for Team Canada. So, as mentioned, just a lot of national and international experience on this Cochrane team. And no doubt a little disappointed not to be in that championship pool, but I have zero doubt whatsoever that they're already making plans to play at the Ontario Senior Men's Championship and see if they can take a run at getting back to next year's Everest Canadian Seniors in Moncton, New Brunswick. So we're on second stones here in the first end. Alberta second, Kelly Mothy. He works as a member services specialist for Alberta Milk. I can see if they can get around. There's an example of that curl. Will it be enough, though? Don't know if it's going to take that Ontario stone out. It will stay at the back, and it looks like Ontario still sitting shot rock. And a chance to now hit that open Alberta stone at the top 12 and potentially sit a couple. Now, you may have seen Brian Cochrane put something in his mouth. That's a whistle. He uses that whistle, and just you'd hear, if you were in the club, you'd hear short little peeps. He has a throat issue that prevents him from yelling and or calling to his sweepers. That's the polite way to put it, of course. And that is the signal to tell his sweepers on and off. Now, he always will write permission whenever he's participating in a national, international event, because technically it's against the rules to use anything other than your voice to communicate with your sweepers. But because he does have the medical condition, he is granted permission to use that whistle. And as I said, if you're on the ice surface, you'd actually barely notice it. Just you might think that there's a bird someplace, but that is something that he has used for many years now. His team is used to it and works out quite nicely for him. That is going to roll over, and Alberta sitting a couple. Ian McCauley, long time teammate of Brian Cochrane. All those folks in Ontario are quite used to seeing Ian and Brian as teammates. Back when Brian has won 2 Purple Hearts to play at the Brier. He won in 2003, playing out of Ontario, and then also represented Prince Edward Island at a Brier with Ian McCauley. Ian has birthright status there. Brian was the free agent. So they were teammates at 2 Briers playing for 2 different provinces. Ian's playing that hit. It looks like it's going to jam, though. And will they get those blue stones off? They will not. So now Alberta has a chance to hit and sit 3 and put the pressure on Ontario. Ontario, as mentioned, does have last rock here in this first end. Teams here in the seeding pool, they were the teams that did not qualify for the championship pool. 2 pools of 7 in the Everest Seniors. The top 4 in each pool go to the championship pool. The next 3 end up here in the seeding pool. They cross over to play from the other pool of seeding pool qualifiers. So 3 more round robin games for these teams that didn't make the championship pool. And that will determine the final standings. And as again we mentioned, that will set up the pools for next year's Everest Seniors in Moncton. So maybe a little opportunity here for Ontario to get that hit and roll behind the corner guard. That'll be the call for Ian McCauley. Ian's been installing curling ice for 4 decades. Various places around Canada, mostly in Ontario, of course, but he's also been involved in the invention of some devices that are fairly commonplace, removable hacks that are about in every club in the world right now. He was also involved in some of the tech that has gone into the handles being used at Grand Slam events that track the speed of the rock. There's sensors embedded in the handles that Ian was involved in developing. Makes the hit, does not get the roll. So James Paul now will take aim at that Ontario stone. Gets the jam, so now it's just Alberta sitting 1. Now Brian Cochran has the chance to get the hit and roll, maybe develop a skip's deuce here. But it is that kind of week for Alberta. Just a half shot, too many half shots would probably be the best way to describe it. That was a classic half shot there. They made the hit, but did not want the jam. They wanted to be sitting 2. But it jammed at the back, and that gives Ontario not only a chance to get out of being forced, but maybe even get a hit and roll here and set up a 2. Brian Cochran now. There you see that movement. Will that roll too far? Yes, it will. It is shot, and something Alberta's going to have to be careful with because there is a jam there at the back. You can see Mark Klink, the vice skip for Alberta, looking at that jam and figuring out the angles that they have to respect here on this shot from James Paul. First shot here in the first end for James Paul, second shot, trying to get the hit and roll himself. I think that'll bounce out into the open. You see that rock bounced off the sideboards. Now Brian Cochran will just look to peel this out, get the blank, and take hammer into the second end. Brian, a retired principal, worked for many years at Russell High School. Playing the blank here now. That's looking like it's on target. They're going to have to watch for that jam over on the side. And he will make it. So it will be zeros on the board. It will be Ontario that has last rock when we come back after this.
At every OK Tire store, you'll find a local owner who lives in your community, proudly offering full auto service. And when you shop with us, you're shopping local. OK Tire. Service, repair, and tires. It's going to be okay.
I love that curling is a team sport, that we're able to travel the world with friends and family and experience the journey with fans as well. The sport demands so much, whether it's fine motor skills or both physically and mentally taxing. And it's just a fun social sport that you're able to kind of make an extended family all over the world.
Everest is here to support you in the moments that matter. Learn how at everestfuneral.ca.
Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club. We head into the second end of this featured men's game tonight between Team Alberta, Team Ontario. Always two of the contenders at the Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships. An off year this year, but I'm sure both of these teams want to finish on a high note here in Vernon. Regardless of the circumstances, we mentioned Alberta coming in with a 2-5 record, Ontario at 4-3. Pretty tidy first end there. Ontario, Brian Cochran making the open peel to get out of the force situation and carry last rock here into the second end. Ontario look to be adding to their leading total. They've won 13 Canadian Senior Men's Championships. That's the best in the country. Manitoba was next with 12, Alberta with 10. And only Manitoba right now has a chance to add to that total. Dave Bomer's team from Petersfield in that championship pool. The center guard is put up by Team Alberta. As Ontario can't make a play at the center guard because it's in the free guard zone rule, not in the free guard zone, not to mention touching the center line. So it's in that no tick zone. So really the only logical shot to call for lead Ken Sullivan would be the open hit. Ken, Ian, and Brian Cochran have been longtime teammates at the senior level. They've had sort of a revolving door at second. The second this year, Graham Sinclair. Graham managing to take time off from his job at Air Canada. He's a long-haul pilot. Flies routes mostly to Asia on the Boeing 777. So next time you're on an Air Canada flight to Asia, you might want to listen to the pilot's announcement. You might be listening to this man right here, the second for Team Ontario. He'll be up shooting in a moment. This is Kelly Mothy, the second for Team Alberta. Looking to get around that center guard. You can see that late movement. Hoping to keep this above the tee line. Looks like a pretty great result. Very nice weight there. Nice shot by Kelly Mothy. And now we're into second rocks. And Graham Sinclair can take a run at this run back. You know his daughter, of course, Jamie Sinclair. A long time, she's curled out of the U.S. and out of Canada. She's got dual citizenship. She managed to get that when her dad, Graham, was working in the Canadian Forces as a pilot. He was on an exchange assignments with the U.S. Air Force in Alaska, flying the F-15, and that's where Jamie was born. So that's what enabled her to be able to curl for Canada and the U.S. So got the top guard, but it's still Alberta shot in the rings. Looks like Alberta will see if they can replace that guard and really go hard for a steal to open this game. Put this first point on the board. 6 sheets in play here tonight at the Vernon Curling Club. All of the seeding pool games taking place tonight. They all played this morning at 8:30. And the championship pool got started earlier this afternoon. And we'll continue with another draw later this evening at 8:30 p.m. Pacific, 11:30 p.m. Eastern. You'll be able to watch action from that championship pool right here on TSN Plus as well as Curling Canada Plus. 4 sheets here at the Vernon Curling Club being streamed. Feature game on TSN Plus. You can also see those other sheets on Curling Canada Plus. Now Ontario seeing if they can weld one onto that Alberta counter. See if they can move it to the back of the house. Very nice shot by Graham Sinclair. Yes, it is still Alberta shot rock, but now it's behind the tee line, and that's a better scenario for Ontario. Mark Klink, the Alberta third. You can see a good chunk of that Ontario stone. Let's see what he can do about... yeah, you can see all of it just about edge on edge. And they might get a little inside roll off this too. Gonna have to hold it on line though. Oh, good sweep there. So almost over curls, and it will push it to the back of the house, but it does not go out. And we'll see if that comes into play later in the end. So a little bit of a crack in the door here for Ontario. We'll see if they can take advantage. Might be able to get the double, might be able to get the hit and roll. And McCauley. Right away, that sweep is called by, or whistled for by Brian Cochran. Trying to hold it. You might get the inside roll on this. Yeah, just like that. That'll work. Very nice. Still think it's Alberta sitting shot. But there's starting to be a little bit of a buildup of some yellow, Ontario yellow in the rings, and Alberta's going to have to be careful with this. You can see James Paul eyeing up those angles. Looks like he wants to cut off that path that Ontario might have to promote their own that was just thrown by Ian McCauley. So Mark Klink will play a guard of some sort. Don't want to be too deep on this. Lothy and Schmidt, the front enders, in charge of making sure that that weight is okay. Now let's watch this finish. That'll get the job done. Cannot get to the nose of that Ontario stone now. All they can do is see a piece of it. Not a very big piece at that. So Ian McCauley and Brian Cochran trying to decide what their best option is here. Might have to switch sides and come around on that clockwise rotation side. Ian's in turn. Looks like that'll be the call. Talked about this team winning the World Senior Curling Championship 2019 in Stavanger, Norway. They were unbeaten. Morgan Curry was playing second for the team that year. The Scottish team in the final. And I see Ian McCauley's shot that's still hanging out, but there will be some finish here. And it'll just cover the button, but I think that's accessible for Alberta. James Paul will put the broom down. In addition to being a pretty high-level curler who's been to a Brier with Kevin Martin, James Paul's also a pretty accomplished drag racer. Spends a lot of his summers at tracks all over North America. He's raced in the super street category in places like Rockingham, North Carolina, Memphis, Las Vegas, all over Western Canada. He goes awfully fast for a few seconds in that drag racing circuit. 6 seconds to him is more about a quarter mile time than it would be hog to hog a lot of times. But here he's going to take a pass at that Ontario stone that is biting the button. Chance for Alberta to potentially sit two here. Look at that dive in. And a little inside roll to boot. So it's Alberta sitting a couple. And pretty much behind cover too. Now what does Brian Cochran do? Looks like they're going to try and... That yellow stone that was thrown by Ian McCauley that got the roll, I think they're going to try and see if they can chisel that in a little bit. Hit about a quarter of a rock, eighth to a quarter, and see what kind of action they can get on those two Ontario stones that are sitting shot right now. First shot here in this second end for Brian Cochran. See Alberta sitting a couple in that overhead shot. Gonna have to get this to curl a little bit, I think. It's gonna make contact? I don't think so. Misses both the yellow and blue, and it's still Alberta sitting a couple with rock in hand. And I think Alberta will not allow Brian to throw that shot twice. He'll try to put a guard up and take that shot away and say, okay, you can have the side of the button. Good luck. You can see the Mark Klink and the Ontario back end kind of sizing it up, and I think they all kind of agree that this is not going to be a walk in the park for Ontario to score here in this second end. James Paul with his final shot here in the second end. Alberta sitting two and looking to protect that potential steal. Sweepers have backed right off it though. Mothy and Schmidt. They might get a little bounce out into the open. They just need to take that path away. That'll do it. Ryan Cochran's looking over there to see if there's something still there. I just don't know. And there's the broom going down, and as we suspected, it will be his in-turn clockwise rotation. He should be able to get at that stone that's sitting on the button. We saw a lot of late movement when James Paul put one there, so we certainly think the ice will allow for this shot to be made, but boy, that's a big-time pressure shot. As you see, it's over-buried. And this is a shot against 2 for Brian Cochran, so an early tester for the former world champion. Sinclair, Sullivan. It's their job to judge the weight. Now it's going to try and curl it over. Will it move? Will it touch anything? It will not. Now, the question is, it jammed on the back. Will it be 1 or 2? I'm going to take a close look. Certainly 1 for Alberta. And I would not want to put any money down on which one is sitting second shot, or in fact, third shot. Well, now we know that the yellow one is being pushed off, so I think we'll have a measure here to decide who gets this, if it's a 2 or 1 for Alberta. We know there's 1 in the bank. And we'll run the measurement to see who is sitting second. But a great end there by Alberta. 2 great shots, especially that first one by James Paul. And then he played the guard. A little bit of an opportunity that got away from Ontario on Brian's first. Just did not curl up at the end. And we will see the measurement conducted here. What's your money on, fans? Should be a big steal of 2 if Alberta does get it. It's a big steal of 1 for that matter. And it is yellow that is sitting second. So, or no, it looks a little confusing the way she did that. We'll see what they post up, but we do know it will be Ontario, that Alberta will have the lead. And we'll tell you how big a lead it is when we come back after this.
Curling means so much to our family. Obviously, it's a big part of our life. Isabella always says that she wants to be an Olympic champion curler when she grows up, which just melts my heart. But it also has shown them that if you work hard, anything is possible. If I was to ask them if they wanted to chase a dream, they believe that anything is possible as long as they put the work in, and it's because of watching us on the ice.
Everest is here to support you in the moments that matter. Learn how at everestfuneral.ca.
Well, as you look at the scoreboard there, you can see it was a steal of 1 for Alberta, and it was the Ontario Stone that was determined to be sitting second shot. So considering that's probably a little bit of a moral win for Ontario, because that was looking awfully scary that they could be giving up a steal of 2. But 1 down with Hammer playing in the third end is not exactly the end of the world for this Team Ontario, which has plenty of experience. As won a few games being down one early, I am positive. So here's a chance for them to get behind that short center. They'd like to keep this above the tee. And we'll just slide over that Everest logo to the back four. But you saw how much movement there was in that draw. It poked out the other side, and just based on James Paul putting the broom down in the middle of the 12, that tells you how much this ice will curl. Meet John Schmidt. He's the owner of a company called Smitty's Automotive Service Center, which is a smaller shop that services the Sherwood Park area. Wanted me to send out a shout out to the guys at the shop looking after things while he's here in Vernon. John, by the way, is like his skipper, heavily into the drag racing scene. Won a few races himself, but said he sold everything in November 2021, and the last car he ever had did the quarter mile in 7.4 seconds. Now think about that. That's 184 miles an hour. So another guy like his skipper who likes to go fast. So Ontario couldn't get around that guard. Now you got a great wall covering that forefoot, and if Kelly Mothy can get this around with the counterclockwise rotation, his out turn, it's going to be trouble for Ontario to remove. Sweepers like the weight, trying to keep it on line. Should clear those guards. Will it get by those guards? No, it was a little light. It's a little bit of an opportunity that gets away from Alberta there now. So there is the one Ontario stone at the back four, and it is well protected. With that said, I think Ontario doesn't like that buildup of blue stones in front of the house. So I think the call will be for Graham Sinclair to, I think if he hits just on the broom side, as Brian just indicated there, broom side of that yellow stone, should make a couple blues go away, and it might even land that yellow stone in the house, at the top of the house. And there it is. Very nice throw there by Graham Sinclair, and it leaves Ontario sitting two. And also, as we mentioned, relieves some of that blue congestion out in front of the house. That's a key element of that shot. We'll see what Kelly Mothy can do. The run back is there. Could leave Alberta sitting a couple. Might be a little outside, though. I don't think the run back will be made. Will they hold the shooter? Probably not. So, Ontario now with shot rock. Again, the only concern that it is behind the tee line there, and if they make a half shot here, that might give the opportunity to Alberta to nudge one right up to that stone and almost cover the pin. So Ontario's got to be careful with this situation. Yes, they've got shot rock, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a fait accompli that they will actually get to count that shot rock. Sweepers are not touching this. Now they'll see if they can get a little sideways movement on it. That curl up and into the top 4. A little bit of a Christmas tree building up there for Ontario. That's a nice result. Gonna have to work hard to get this by that top blue. Mark Klink will get right to the nose of it, as a matter of fact. So doesn't really change the scenario. Blue out in front and 2 Ontario stones in that 4-foot. Oh, Brian Cochran's thinking about going around to the open side or go around the blue stone over there. I think he's going to go open side with this for Ian McCauley. Chance to sit 3. No, he actually is going to the other side. It was hard to tell where Brian had put the broom down, which way he was going, but now the key on this one is it going to stop? It will go out the back, so a little bit of a miss there from Ian McCauley, and now we'll see if Alberta will try that run back, or will they try and just get to remove a good chunk of that yellow that's at the top 4. See Ian McCauley looking to see if that stone stayed on the rings. I don't think so. No, maybe it is touching, so it'd be sitting 4th right now. So Mark Klink now, I think they'll just try and play a backline rate, maybe just through weight, to see if they can move that yellow stone off the top 4. Mark was tight with his first one. Now this one looks a little bit wide. Will it make contact with the back one? Looks like it will. And just roll out into the open, but still is Ontario sitting 2. So it looks like they're going to try and bring another one into that 4-foot, but come at it from the other side this time. Ian's in turn, clockwise rotation. Just lob another one in there and turn the screws a little tighter on Alberta as Ontario looks to respond from giving up that second-end steal of 1. So Ian was a little heavy with his first So Alberta looking to answer back with a deuce if possible here. Looks like they are sitting 2. Trying to keep this line out there to get past the Ontario stone. I think it'll overcurl and just make contact. It'll spin in. Looks like they've promoted the Ontario stone to be second shot, though. Now is their shot at the double. Brian Cochran's going to come out and see if there's enough air there. We'll have a little chat, see if they're all on the same page for Ian McCauley's shot. You would just have to get by that Yellowstone that is sitting second shot. And you see where Brian has his broom. I think they will take a run at this. Great opportunity here to move that to completely buried Alberta stone that is shot rock right now. I'll have to throw some weight at this one. Ian McCauley. Just as I mentioned, just get by their own. Just like that. What a terrific shot by Ian McCauley. Now it is Ontario sitting 2. And there's that, we talk about the Christmas tree. That is a Christmas tree. So now Mark Klink. Now, if he can get around that, all those yellows, it would be very hard to get at for Ontario. So still a deuce on the table here for Ontario, for Alberta, pardon me. A lot of yellow in the rings there, but will this stop in front of the tee line? It will not, but still it is shot rock for Alberta. Now Ian McCauley, see if he can follow that stone down and get to the face of it. Front end for Ontario working hard. That might have been just a little bit tight. Will it get by that high, that first guard? It does. Will it get by the 12-foot shot? Oh, it'll just rub. But it'll still spin in for shot rock. And about half buried, too. That's a nice outcome there for Ontario. And you see James Paul turn around laughing with Brian Cochran. A little bit of a break there, but well managed in terms of weight. Good sweeping as well, and they still get something positive out of it. Now, Mark Klink will follow the same path again. He might be able to cross the face of that yellow and push it back. Enough. Now you see that Alberta front end sweeping. Called off now. They're back on. So it must be close. Now they'll try and see if they can get some late finish on it. Will it be moved back enough? It will not. It's still Ontario sitting shot rock. Some options available here for Ontario. Do they guard it? Do they... That blue that is over there on the left-hand side by Ian McCauley's feet could be used later in this end as an in-off. You might want to remove that. See if they can get the roll in themselves. So I think they are playing the hit and roll here. Ian and Brian continuing to talk this out, make sure they're entirely on the same page. 2-point lead for Ontario. It is Alberta with last rock here in this fourth end. Seeding pool action here on Curling Canada Plus and TSN Plus, the 2023 Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships. Sweeping called right away. Now it's called off. Have to get the inside roll on this. Sinclair trying to get a little action on it. Here's the hit. There's the roll. Oh, just a little too far. Just need to hit that a little thicker. Fortunate, too, that they didn't actually push their own back, but it is still Ontario sitting shot rock. Now you wonder, is the hit and roll off of that stone available to Alberta? James Paul looking at that. Couple options. They can either bump their own blue up, sit 2, maybe 3, or do they come off of that stone that's at 9 o'clock? James just put his broom on there and get the double that way and sit 3. Similar shot that Ian McCauley played early in this end. Every Yellowstone in play here in this end. And they are sitting 1. And it looks like that is going to be the call that James Paul wants to play. Come in off of that Yellowstone where Mark Klink's broom is. Go across, shoot across, and take out that Yellowstone that is at the back of the button. Potentially sit 3. Final shot here for James Paul. Did they leave it too long? I think it... almost. Just curled up at the end. Need to keep the sweep on that one. But now it's Ontario sitting 2 and a chance to put another one in there. Make it awfully tough for Alberta to score. Alberta with hammer here in the 4th. Down a couple. That was an opportunity that just got away from Alberta, and that's the kind of week it's been. Certainly a makeable shot. Not an easy shot, but certainly makeable, and it just curled up at the end and wrecked, and that gives Ontario the chance to ratchet up pressure here and sit 3 surrounding the button. And I'm not quite sure how Alberta scores. Honestly, I don't know that they score. Ken Sullivan, Graham Sinclair work on dragging this in, see if they can get it covering the button. Kind of like that, right on that Everest logo. And wow. That is going to be awfully tough for Alberta to get a point. I think almost they'd be happy just to give up one here. Now, he may be playing the in off of that blue. And see if he can get a little sideways action that could spin these rocks out, at least out of the forefoot. But this would be known as on a wing and a prayer here for Alberta. James Paul's final shot here in this fourth end, down 2. Needing something awfully special here. James Paul. Trying to keep it on line. There's the off. Well, that's a good steal of one for Ontario if you're Alberta. Boy, that could have been worse. But it will be a single point for Team Ontario. So, Ryan Cochran's team from Ottawa will go up 4-1. Alberta will have hammer when we come back for the fourth end. The teams will take a fourth end break. We will too. We'll be back in a few moments here at the Vernon Curling Club.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
At every OK Tire store, you'll find a local owner who lives in your community, proudly offering full auto service. And when you shop with us, you're shopping local. OK Tire. Service, repair, and tires. It's going to be okay.
Somebody had the kicker now. They said to see how I do.
Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the second half of tonight's featured seeding pool game between Team Ontario, Team Alberta, here at the Everest Canadian Senior Men's and Women's Curling Championships. My name is Al Cameron. My pleasure to bring you tonight's game here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. And as you see, it is Ontario with a 4-1 lead, a big 3 in the second end, and then a steal of 1 in the fourth. Has them in front here. 3 in the third end has them in front here against Alberta. Traditional rivals, obviously, at all Curling Canada National Championships. And two teams that, as we said off the top, arrived here in Vernon with some high expectations based on recent successes at this event. Team James Paul last year finished second at this event, losing in the final to another Ottawa team, skipped by Howard Rajala. Of course, Brian Cochran's team, 2 gold medals, 2 silver medals in recent years, a World Senior Curling Championship, a World Senior Silver Medal. So lots of pedigree on the ice right here, and just hasn't been the week they wanted. They're looking to finish in style here in this seeding pool. They'll play one more game here tomorrow afternoon. That'll be at 2 p.m. Pacific. 5 p.m. Eastern. Of course, games will be seen on Curling Canada Plus as well as TSN Plus. And I mentioned the results of the seeding pool will determine the final overall standings and set up the pools for next year's Everest Seniors in Moncton. And even though, like I said, it hasn't been the week they wanted, lots of smiles during that fourth end break. The teams are talking to each other, having a laugh, and I'm sure they'll continue up in the lounge upstairs here at the Vernon Curling Club after the game. In a very lively place here, both here and at the hotel. Everest, the Everest Lounge at the hotel has been hopping, as you might expect. And once again, just a great shout out of appreciation to our great sponsors at Everest Funeral Concierge. Done a wonderful job with this event, as well as the Everest Curling Club Championships that were held recently in Winnipeg. Just great supporters of curling across this country. So our sincere thanks to Everest Funeral Concierge for everything they do for the sport of curling, and particularly for this event this week here in Vernon. And it's been a very, very well-received event in Vernon. Lots of fans coming out and enjoying the action. And we're glad that you're with us here tonight, taking in the action on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. So a 3-point lead for Ontario. And Alberta will look to see if they can put a crooked number on the scoreboard. They got that corner guard up, and they tried to get one behind it, but it's just about, I would say, 3/4 exposed, and certainly accessible for Ontario second, Graham Sinclair. You know, in talking to these players over the course of the week, you can sense their frustration, but they also, you kind of get a clue earlier in the week when things aren't going your way. And both of these teams had their struggles. As I said, it's a half shot here, a half shot there, and they all add up. And Ontario came close to qualifying for the championship pool. They finished with a 3-3 record, but that was not good enough to get through. They were one game behind Team Quebec and there's three teams tied for 4-2 in Pool A. That was New Brunswick, Manitoba, and Quebec. And Ontario, I think their loss to Quebec was particularly frustrating. It was there was a shot for two that Brian Cochran had in the sixth end of that game, and very, very makeable, missed it, and then immediately Quebec came back and scored four. And I think that's when Ontario realized this was not going to be their week. So, but both these teams won their first seeding pool games earlier today. Ontario defeated Nunavut 11-2. Alberta, meanwhile, was able to get by the Yukon 9-2. So both coming in after wins, and as I said, looking to finish with some pride here at the Everest Seniors. So as you might expect, Ontario with that lead and sitting two anyways, and as well as fourth shot, they'll just remove that corner guard, and they're okay with giving up one, probably okay even with giving up two here to Alberta. They just don't want anything more than that. You give up two, they're one up with Hammer playing the sixth end, and that's a good place to be if you're Ontario. So now Alberta will change the game plan a little bit. They'll see if they can get one buried behind those two top Ontario stones. And as we've said, this ice is certainly conducive to this kind of shot. Some ice surfaces would not allow you to bury behind those two stones, but you could easily get behind those two and be in front of the tee line. Kelly Mothy will try that. Trying to keep this on line, but once it gets going, it's hard to stop it from curling. I think that will make contact with one of those top guards. Weight was pretty good. Just needed maybe 10 centimeters more of ice. He might have got that started a little as well, but Brian Cochran will come out and have a look and have a chat with Ian McCauley to discuss their thoughts and what to do. Mentioned Brian does have a throat condition that prevents him from talking loudly. He can certainly carry on an average conversation right beside you, but raising his voice does cause some discomfort, so he does have permission to use a whistle. You see it hanging around his neck, and just short little peeps of that whistle, and that's the signal to his sweepers on and off. So Ian McCauley will be asked to remove that Alberta stone. Question may have been regarding, do they want to keep the shooter? Do they want to try and roll it in? Do they want to just hit it on the nose? Seems like the nose is the call here. They don't necessarily want to roll it in. There it is. And that certainly gives them something to use if Alberta gets one around on the other side. But it looks like they're going to play a hit on that stone that was just thrown and then maybe bounce in off the backside of one of those Ontario stones that's touching the center line, and then bounce closer to the 4 foot. Mark Klink will be asked to take this shot. Go across the face of it. Mothy's being asked to see if he can get a little inside movement on it, but it looks like that's going to be pretty much on the nose. So Ontario still sitting two. Trying to get this online. Should be on the nose. So what does Alberta do now to try and generate this deuce? Might have a chance at the double here, Mark Klink. I think that's the shot they'll take on here. Trying somehow, some way to generate that deuce. It will not get the double, and it does still leave Ontario sitting a couple, but I think Ontario just doesn't want to take any chances here. They're going to try and see if they can remove those two stones at the top of the house. I don't think they mind losing their own that's there. They just want to keep that 4-foot area open and don't allow anything to build up for Alberta. Brian Cochran, first shot here in the fifth end. And makes the double for fun. And now it is Ontario sitting 4. And Alberta looking for some kind of crack in the door. But Ontario has played very well here in this seeding pool game. We'll see what Alberta can come up with here, but not looking promising for a deuce. And a single point, really not helpful. Better than nothing, I guess, but they'll be down 2 without playing the sixth end. And the analytics tell you that's a good place to be if you're Ontario. So they'll try and see if they can get one buried behind that top Alberta stone. James Paul. That looks like it's going to overcurl, and it's been that kind of week for Team Alberta. So Ontario still sitting 3 here. Brian Cochran by just looking to put it in a spot that makes it really difficult for Alberta to score. Quick reminder, we'll be back on the air later this evening, 8:30 Pacific, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus with championship pool play at the Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships. The teams in the championship pool play their second games tonight. They'll have 2 more tomorrow. And that'll lead us into Saturday's semifinals and then the medal games. The gold and silver medal, gold, silver, and bronze will be decided Saturday afternoon here at the Vernon Curling Club. So I think they just settled on something that's in the 8-foot, covering that 4-foot circle. Might be a little deeper than they'd hoped. And we'll settle at the side of the button. James Paul will put the broom down and look to make that open hit to score 1. Draw times tomorrow here at the Vernon Curling Club Championship Pool games at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. That's Pacific time. That's 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern. Then a seeding pool game that will take place at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Again, all three of those draws, you can watch them here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. Schmidt trying to keep this straight. Is it going to over curl? I think it's going to touch their own. It will. It'll be a steal of 4. Well, yes, it'll be a steal of 4 for Ontario, and the struggles go on for Team Alberta. So Ontario takes an 8-1 lead. Alberta will have hammer when we come back after this.
At every OK Tire store, you'll find a local owner who lives in your community, proudly offering full auto service. And when you shop with us, you're shopping local. OK Tire. Service, repair, and tires. It's going to be okay.
I love that curling is a team sport, that we're able to travel the world with friends and family and experience the journey with fans as well. The sport demands so much, whether it's fine motor skills or both physically and mentally taxing. And it's just a fun social sport that you're able to kind of make an extended family all over the world.
Everest is here to support you in the moments that matter. Learn how at everestfuneral.ca.
We are back at the Vernon Curling Club heading into the 6th end of the seeding pool men's game between Team Alberta, Team Ontario, and it is all Team Ontario, a steal of 4 in that 5th end. They take an 8-1 lead. Take a quick look at the other scores on the ice here at the Vernon Curling Club as the seeding pool continues. Men's games, the other men's games, it is Team Northern Ontario, Team Rosengren, looking to even their record at 4-4. They've taken a 7-2 lead now on Team Terry Miller from the Yukon. Yukon coming in with a 1-6 record. 2 in the 5th end for Northern Ontario had their lead at 7-2, playing the 6th. Yukon with hammer. In the other men's game, it is the Northwest Territories, Team Van Thyn playing Team Nunavut, which is Team Mackey. Both those teams with 0-7 records, so something has to give. It's looking like the Northwest Territories are on their way to a victory. They have a 5-2 lead right now. They took 4 in the 3rd and then stole 1 in the 4th. So it is 5-2, Nunavut with hammer in the 6th. 3 women's games in action tonight. Team Northern Ontario, the Shefsky team from Keewatin. They have a 5-1 lead, make that 5-2 now over Team Yukon, Lorna Spenner's team from Whitehorse. Northern Ontario with a deuce in the 4th. Yukon comes back with 1 in the 5th. So it is Northern Ontario with Last Rock playing in the 6th end. Newfoundland Labrador team Pam Osborne from St. John's looking to improve to 3-5. They have a 4-2 lead over Team PEI, skipped by Susan McInnes. Newfoundland Labrador takes 2 in the 3rd, steals 1 in the 4th to go up 4-2. So it is Prince Edward Island with Last Rock playing in the 5th. And in the other game, Team Nunavut mounting a bit of a comeback against New Brunswick. New Brunswick's Team Graham took a 6-0 lead on steals after 3 ends, but Nunavut has come back with 3 in the 4th and a steal of 1 in the 5th. So it is New Brunswick with a 6-4 lead and Last Rock playing in the 6th end. A reminder, all the scores, all the line scores, all the standings, all the playoff scenarios, you can find them all the time on curling.ca/scoreboard. That's curling.ca/scoreboard. Looking Looking like a pretty open end here, and just you sense that frustration up and down this Alberta lineup. Obviously a better team than what they've showed here, and talking about those half shots, and they just have added up, and they've come at the exact wrong time. And every curler here, in fact, every high-level curler has had weeks like that. It just doesn't go your way. Reminder that once we get through the championship pool games, that will wrap up tomorrow night at 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern. Once those games are complete, we will get into the semifinal pairings. We'll know the semifinal pairings. There will be no tiebreaker games. Ties are broken first based on head-to-head record. And if that doesn't break the tie, for instance, if there's 3 teams tied for 1 or 2 spots, and they're all 1-1 against each other, then last shot draw distance will be used to rank the teams. And that will give us our 4 semifinal teams. The men's and women's semifinals will take place Saturday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. That'll be followed at 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern by the men's gold and bronze medal games. Then we'll move into the women's gold and bronze medal games that will start at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. In those games, you'll see all the action right here on Curling Canada Plus and TSN Plus. As we've been saying, the winning team from those gold medal games will wear the maple leaf at the 2024 World Senior Curling Championships that will take place in Östersund, Sweden in April. It's a city that's in inland Sweden, and believe it or not, further north than Yellowknife, well up there in the Swedish hinterlands. Of course, that World Senior Championships will run concurrent with the World Mixed Doubles Championship. Of course, Canada will be entering those World Seniors as defending champions. Last April in Gangneung, South Korea, it was Team Sherry Anderson winning her 3rd World Senior Women's Championship. And on the men's side, it was Howard Rajala from Ottawa giving Canada its 4th consecutive World Championship. The year before, it was Wade White and his team from Edmonton winning in Geneva, Switzerland. Of course, the 20 and 21 World Seniors were canceled due to COVID. So in 2019, it was Team Brian Cochran, whom we're watching here tonight, winning in Stavanger, Norway. And then prior to that, Wade White again in Östersund. So the World Seniors going back to Östersund for the first time since 2018. Third rocks as these teams are going to just run it up and down, and I suspect we'll probably see some handshakes at the end of this 6th end. Just one of those nights for Alberta where nothing was going to go right. And you know what? They've got a great lounge here at the Vernon Curling Club, so I think they'd rather talk things out at the lounge upstairs and have a sociable or two. Of course, longtime Curling Canada host with the most, Stu Brown is here, keeping things light for all the curlers here. And of course, a great crew from Everest. Randy Furby's here, Brent Lang, Jennifer Jones, Al Hackner, all repping that our great partners at Everest Funeral Concierge. So lots of fun to be had by these 50 and over curlers competing at the Everest Seniors.
So if they get ready to throw before this at this extra time, right?
No, you can
Just let it run.
yeah.
Unless
I find if they're down 15 seconds and they haven't thrown the rock, or they're about to throw the rock, just let it run because it will run out as
One more game for each of these teams. As mentioned, they'll play tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock Pacific time. Team Alberta will finish off against the Northwest Territories. Team Alberta will play its final game. Pardon me. Alberta will play the Northwest Territories. Team Ontario will play tomorrow against Northern Ontario, the Battle of Ontario, which always has a little extra juice. See who is king of the hill in Ontario. And that will be the draw to the button. And that will produce the handshake. So it is going to be a final score of Team Ontario 8, Team Alberta 2. And that will wrap things up for our coverage here tonight from the Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships from this seeding pool draw. A reminder, we'll be back on the air with championship pool play at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, 11:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. So for now, this is Al Cameron saying so long from Vernon.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.